Yes, the cat still has diarrhea.
Oh, hi. Welcome in. You're here for the Echoplex Media broadcast. Oh, great. Me too. My podcast, the Full Dash Closure audiobook and podcast, actually sponsors Echoplex Media. Yeah. We're also on podcatchers like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, Amazon, you name it. We're on there. Yeah, it's about not just the gig economy, but corporate AI and the future of human employment and our economy. And it's really applicable to everybody. I think you'll be fascinated. So check it out. We've actually got 14 episodes up now. So yeah, check that out. Let's watch Echoplex Media now. See what Dave's up to.
I know how to stand up to a man. I'm defenseless against that kind of female insanity.
You fucking leave me alone!
I'm white, and I've got everything I need. No one clutches their purses when they're in a room alone with me. And I can drive for any neighborhood I please at any hour, and the police don't do a thing. So if I see a penny on the ground, I leave it alone and fucking flip it. I'm a straight white male in America. I got everything I need. I'm a guy getting paid more than a girl with a degree. And I can walk down the streets after dark, no one wants to rape me. And I can get a girl pregnant and just as easily flee. Just like my straight white male dad did to me. So if I see a penny on the ground, I leave it alone and fucking flip it. I'm a straight white male in America. I've got all the luck I need. I've got a pile of broken mirrors and I'm walking under ladders and I'm spilling tons of salt, but to me that doesn't matter, cause my skin and my gender and my orientation are the best things to have if you live in this nation. I recommend it highly. If I see a penny on the ground, I leave it alone and fucking flip it. I'm a straight white male in America. I've got all the luck I need. Shit's gonna work out for me, cause I'm a straight white male in America. I've got all the luck I need.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Intellectual Dollar Tree. We do the show live on Twitch every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific. That's twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. You can support this project many ways. My favorite right now is eplex.store. You can sign up just like Patreon. And if you are signed up there instead of Patreon, you get discounts applied to anything you order there on top of any other coupon code that you may find floating around the internet or that my bot gives out. Hopefully the coupon codes that my bot gives out are still valid when the bot gives them out. I'm producer Dave. You can find me on Grindr, and my co-host with the matching hat.
I am HK Perrin. You can find me on Mastodon at hperrin@port87.social.
Hell yeah. So what's up, man?
Just really enjoying this hat. I've worn it to 2 baseball games so far, and actually, surprisingly, only one person has asked me about it.
Really? Yeah, I don't get asked about it as much as I thought I would either, but I think it's possible that some people are afraid to ask.
That's true. And it's possible that like a lot of people are just like, "Oh, that's funny."
Yeah, and then they
don't really need to ask about it.
Right. They're not like, "Hey bro, where'd you get that hat? Where could I get that hat, bro?" Anyway, as you might have been able to tell by the soundboard hits that happened before the show, we're going back to one of the most commonly covered people here on Echoplex Media, and that would be one Mr. Jordan Beeferson. Wait, that's not his last name. Mr. Jordan Peterson. This is going to be a fucking disaster because he had RFK Jr. on. RFK Jr. is running for president, kind of. And he's running as a Democrat. And this is rekindling the spirit of the classic Democrat with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. This is going to be fucking awful. Are you ready?
As I'll ever be.
No sound.
I mean, watching Jordan Peterson with no sound is arguably better than watching Jordan Peterson with sound.
But there, no sound coming from the browser is actually a pretty big problem.
Are you muted? Check if you're muted.
Browser's just muted. All right. It's not as big a problem as I thought it was. Again, everybody, this show's live.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Today I'm speaking with writer, attorney, environmentalist,
I want to talk to whoever you bought that suit from.
and 2024 presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. We discuss how the Democratic Party has become one of fear and ideology. Its inexplicable conclusion with
fear and ideology. You know, if you asked me, like, of the two parties in the United States, which one is defined by fear and ideology? I certainly would not say the Democrats.
Both parties are ostensibly defined by some kind of ideology. Otherwise, there wouldn't be more than one of them.
That is true. But, like, just watch Fox News and it's just like all fear mongering 100% of the time.
How the COVID-19 pandemic became an issue of tribal allegiance, the use of the doomsday climate narrative for political gains, what can actually be done with renewable energy, and why the era of Kennedy Democrats can not only be revived, but uniting for Americans across boundaries, both physical and philosophical. What made you decide to throw your hat in the ring on the presidency, for the presidency at this point?
Well, I saw the country going in a direction and my political party going in a direction that was very troubling to me. The country one really kind of needs a reboot. But the role of my political party, I felt like the Democrats kind of got derailed.
When he says the country needs a reboot, does he mean that he doesn't like the Constitution?
No, I think it's just a platitude, right? I don't think if you were to like have a real interviewer, he might get stopped and go, "Well, what do you mean when you say the country needs a reboot?"
Yeah, does he mean like violent revolution?
I don't know. I don't think he would probably say that's not what he means. I don't know what he means by a reboot. Maybe they'll get to that, but I doubt it.
Of war, when they were always skeptical of the military-industrial complex, they became the party of censorship, which is abhorrent to every definition of liberalism. They became the party of fear, which is against our, traditions.
Yes, Americans have never been a frightened people.
In his 1932 inaugural address, said that the only thing that we have to fear is fear itself, and he understood that fear is a weapon of totalitarian elements and totalitarian control.
But this guy just spent the last 3+ years fear mongering about the vaccine.
That he did, yeah.
And he continues he's going to do it in this interview.
I think he's telling on himself.
It became the party of the neocons, which again was antithetical. The neocons were Republican, very, belligerent, pugnacious foreign policy about subduing the world and establishing hegemony through violence. It became the party of Wall Street. President Biden has surrounded himself with Wall Street but
like the guy before him, like he surrounded himself with people that kept getting indicted. Like at least the Biden crooks know how to fucking they know how to be a crook. Like the song that was playing before, like if you weren't tuned into Twitch, you wouldn't hear it. But the banker song about how good men borrow and great men steal. It's like that's at least the Biden people know how to like be a ghoul that covers their tracks. I don't know.
Legal crookery.
The party that had forgotten its roots in the middle class of our country and started regarding people, the cops, the firefighters, the union members, the people who were the bedrock of the Democratic Party as deplorables.
Yeah, the Democrats well known for hating the fucking firefighters. What the fuck? Nobody hates the firefighters.
Yeah, what the, like, cops, yes, I totally understand that one. Firefight, no one hates. What the fuck is he on about?
I bet firefighter, if you polled, would poll in the 90% percentile of both political parties of people who are, you know what I'm saying? Do you have a favorable view of firefighters? 90% plus of both parties would probably say, well, yeah.
Yep.
There'd be a few wacko libertarians on the right who would say yeah, and then there'd be a bunch of dumb shitlibs on the left who don't understand the question and say no.
And all of those trends and others were disturbing to me. And I actually, Jordan, started thinking about running before it was really viable, before I considered it viable, but just to, to be able to.
It's still not viable.
You're protected somewhat.
He's not going to win.
Censorship if you're running for president. There's actually federal rules that make it illegal for the network TV to censor presidential candidates. And but my wife
are there?
Let me run for
wait, no, I don't think there are. What do you mean censor them? The network TV can't censor you. All they can do is be like, oh no, we're not going to interview you. Is that what he means by censorship?
I have no idea. When he's talking about TV censoring someone, I'm just thinking he's trying to say fuck on cable TV or something.
Well, you can. They don't bleep out swear words at the debates, actually.
Okay. Well, I don't know what he's talking about then.
If I didn't intend to win. And then last spring, a pollster named Jeremy Zogby, who runs one of the biggest polling houses in North America.
Oh, I'm almost sure that's going to be a friend of Steve Bannon if people look up Zogby.
And had been polling me without my knowledge for several months. Asked to see me, and he sat down with me and showed me the polling results that showed a very clear path that I could have till victory. And with those, I was able to.
How are you polling right now?
Persuade my wife and my kids that this was a good idea. And I think at this point they're pretty happy with, the last 2 months.
How are you doing in the polls at the moment, as far as you can tell, with credible polls?
Well, the public poll, I average about 20%, which is good. I mean, my candidacy is not being treated
20%
as serious by the mainstream media. I think maybe it is a little bit more so, but it was originally dismissed as kind of a fringe candidacy. But I'm actually doing much better than DeSantis, Governor DeSantis does against Trump. I'm doing much better against Biden. So it's I think that is just a media bias, and our internal poll numbers are much better. And
yeah, because that's your polling. You're calling your yes. You're calling yes.
When we call all of the donors that we have their phone numbers, 20% of them say that they would vote for me.
The thing about internal polling is it's always going to skew your direction. The point of the internal polling isn't to find out what the raw numbers are. It's to maybe spot trends that are happening before the main pollsters do. It's not to. You can only spot big trends with your own polling, because if you don't like what your pollster's telling you, you might fire them.
Yeah, I think maybe no one's ever explained that to him.
This is amazing.
I think the most significant thing for Democrats over the long term is that our internal polls show that I do much better against President Trump than President Biden does. So I beat him by almost double the percentage that President Biden does. And I do even better against Governor DeSantis.
How does Biden do against DeSantis?
I think that, if the public polling reflects that, I think that that's going to be very persuasive to a lot of Democrats who really see the election as just a battle to keep Donald Trump from retaking the White House again. And I think a lot of Democrats who don't like me, I think mainly because of the propaganda that has dominated, the very, very negative propaganda, negative portrayals of me, and the misinterpretations of my viewpoints, which have dominated the media and the public consciousness over the past several years, that will begin to recede a little. The more
that's his way of saying, you're taking me out of context.
That, if the polling shows that I am more likely to beat President Trump than President Biden, I think it will force a lot of Democrats to take a second look at me.
Why do you think that people feel that you might be a better alternative to Trump than Biden is? Like, what is it about what you bring to the table that's making you more credible on that front?
Well, I think the reason my numbers show that is that I've been able to bridge the divide between Republicans and Democrats. So a lot of my supporters, I think I do better than any candidate with independents, which are now the biggest political party. And I appeal to a lot of Republicans as well.
No, this guy's got a ceiling of like 15 to maybe 20% because he's going to just appeal to anti-vaxxers.
Yeah, he kind of has like a base of crazy people, and he does not appeal beyond that base.
Right. I don't think he understands that even if he started out at like 9% and then made it up to 16, 17, I don't see that ceiling being any higher than the 20%, which is the highest number that he said. And I don't mean just in like the Democratic Party. I mean like in a general election, like of people who, if they had their choice of, if it's him versus Trump, I'm fucking gonna, I don't even know. I'm fucking, I just won't vote, I guess. I don't know what else to tell you. But
if it was him versus Trump, I do think that he would beat Trump. But like, I don't think that matters. The bar should not be beats Trump.
I mean, it should just be, who do you think the best candidate is? That's what the primary's for. They're gonna get into some crap about like Biden not wanting to debate him too, and I can already predict that. But when do you remember the last time that an incumbent president had debates during the primaries? They haven't. They're gonna get into that though. I guarantee it. It's gonna be like, he's afraid to debate me, bro.
President Biden can do that, and if you just do the math, in the end, it's likely that I'll get almost all the Democrats who vote. If I'm right, if it's me against, let's say, President Trump, the likelihood is that most Democrats would vote for me and that he will get very little crossover.
Trump would go after this guy and be like, this guy's a kook. He's an anti-vaxxer. I brought the vaccine. And then boom, it's over because then like...
Could you imagine how the MAGA people that hate the vaccine would think about that? They're like, well, it's Trump and I'm MAGA, but also that guy hates the vaccine and I hate the vaccine. Who do I vote for? I mean, obviously they'd vote for Trump, but like, again, I don't think that this guy would I don't think Democrats would vote for Trump over him, obviously. But that doesn't mean that all Democrats that would vote if Biden came out would also vote if he came out.
Yeah, I think it would be a very low turnout election, actually.
On the Democrat side, I believe you, yeah.
Whereas I will still get a lot of Republican votes, and I'll dominate the independent votes.
No, that's where he's wrong. If it were him versus Trump, he wouldn't get any Republican votes. He'd get 0 Republican votes.
I think it's incorrect. I think he would get a lot of Republican votes. I just don't think. I think it would be like so many Democrats would stay home that it would really only matter who got the most Republican votes between the two of them, and maybe independents, but. I don't know what he's talking about with independents because the polling of independents is useless until you have your two candidates anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, that that observation or that is not just an artifact of our polling, but it's, it's reflected in conversations that I have every single day of people approaching me in airports, of on airplanes, of, when I'm doing, when I'm in the countryside, which I have to go to a lot, in rural areas, urban areas, I'm getting a strong response, and the response.
But that's because you're like RFK Jr. event, and then a bunch of fucking anti-vaxxers and fucking Stu Peters show up. Like, it's like everybody that comes to my events likes me. That's like me saying everybody that comes to a DJ gig to see me thinks I'm a better DJ than somebody else, and it's like, well, maybe not. I don't know. If we had a competition, maybe they're better than I am. I mean, I just play more Madonna than they do because I'm gay. Like, who knows? I don't. This is all really bad. If I didn't live in America, or if there were like actually no stakes for this, like if we had a more of a parliamentary system where the executive didn't have that much power, I'd be all for him versus Trump, just for the fucking chaos. Just for the chaos. There is no Twitch channel or even news outlet better equipped to cover Donald Trump versus RFK Jr. than Echoplex Media. Like, we're uniquely positioned for that kind of thing, but I think it's a very low probability event.
So I think it's true, the polling is reflecting something that's really happening.
Right. Well, it isn't obvious to me, and this leads into another line of question, exactly why you're running on the Democrat ticket. Because, as you just pointed out, your policies, at least in principle, could appeal to Republicans as well, and that might make you a unique candidate on the Democrat side. I guess I'm curious about why do you? So there's an analogy, I believe, between what's happened to the universities.
I don't know if that is unique on the Democrat side. There are a lot of Democrats that appeal to Republicans. There are a lot of Democrats in that kind of in-between area. And I just don't think there are as many Republicans that would appeal to Democrats. Republicans tend to be much more in line with kind of the Republican Party platform when they have a party platform.
Yeah, I don't like having conversations about like horse race politics. One, it's like not my thing, and two, I think it's way more complicated than that. And I think with more and there being more people declared independent than Democrat or Republican, I think it's more important to like think about how those people might vote, because they're going to be the ones deciding.
What I saw happen in the universities was that the administration took over the faculty. The faculty retreated in 3,000 microsteps, and the administration moved forward. And that happened over about a 25-year period until the administration had captured the universities completely. And then the
administration has captured the university? Motherfucker, that's who administers the university. They didn't have to capture it. It's theirs. They run the show. That's like saying the C-suite has captured this company. The people who work here run the company, and that's not right. Like, what are you talking about, dude? Yeah, the administration captured the university. They fucking make policy.
EI types took over the.
I think he wants like co-op universities.
And it looks to me like something analogous happened within the Democrats. Like, I worked with the Democrats for a long time in California, trying to help messages.
By DEI, do you mean
diversity, equity, and inclusivity?
Okay.
Yeah.
RFK is trying to run as a Republican. He's like, listen, I can't do that one with you. All right, I got to pretend here. Or he's trying to run as a Democrat. I mean, he's like, I can't go down this particular rabbit hole with you.
Social justice warrior types within the universities. And so what I saw among the Democrats that I worked with was that they were unable to draw dividing.
What if RFK Jr. just bodies him on this shit right here? Because he's a liberal guy. He's like, I don't agree with him on COVID stuff, and he's got some weird views about other things, but he's like a liberal guy. And so what if he just absolutely bodies Jordan Peterson on this particular matter?
I think it would be great, and I would applaud him for it.
And I would never vote for him.
Yep.
It's like when Marianne Williamson absolutely obliterated Dave Rubin.
Between the moderate types and the radicals. So, and this is something maybe I'll push you about. So, for example, I went to Washington. I talked to a lot of Democrats, senators and congressmen, about what I saw happening in the broad public sphere, but also in the Democrat Party. And I asked them this question: when does the left go too far? And none of them were able to answer. And even though it's completely obvious that the left can go too far, I mean, that's one of the cardinal lessons of the 20th century. And I suggested that the left goes too far when it pushes equity. And all I got as
fucking the dude's trying to win a Democratic primary. He ain't going down. He's probably not gonna disagree with him. He's probably just gonna kind of okay, whatever him in some sort of way. This is bad. He's fucked. He's fucked. Like, he's a Kennedy. He was born with so much goddamn money that if he says, yeah, equity is bad, then he just looks like the fucking elitist that he's trying to say that he's in there to fight against, because that's who he's trying to court with the anti-vaccine rhetoric. There's no path forward for him. I think fucking Joe Biden should debate him, and he should just be like, hey, are you, I don't care what your question was. This is a Kennedy over here telling you that he's going to go after the elites. Like, yeah, there's no way he can answer this.
I don't think Joe should debate him, but that would be very funny to see.
Democrats, senators, and congressmen alike was, well, the people who say equity, they just mean equality of opportunity.
No.
And that's not what they mean.
No, I'll tell you what I mean. You cannot have equality of opportunity for the next generation without some leveling of the playing field of the outcome of the current generation.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. You cannot, like, socioeconomic status is the number one indicator of the next generation's socioeconomic status.
Yep.
And yeah, I think that he's just going to let Jordy Pete cook here and not say shit. That's what I'd advise him to do. I'd be like, hey, Jordan Peterson's going to say some weird shit about like race and about like class. And what you need to do is just kind of sit there and act like you just didn't, and then just pretend that you were like, oh, well, he was just kept talking and I couldn't get in. That's what I'd do.
Outcome. And that's not the same thing at all. And I saw in that inability to draw that distinction part of the reason that the Democrats have shifted.
It's a really long question.
Described.
Quest statement.
In a direction that seems to be opposed in many ways to the best interests of both the working class and the middle class, but also characterized by this incredible strain of illiberalism and corporate fascist collusion, the sort of thing that you document, for example, in the relationship between the power elites and big pharma. And so my sense on the Democrat side, I couldn't shift the Democrats to the point, the ones that I was talking to the point where they would draw.
I will agree that there is corporate collusion, and even in big pharma, but he and I disagree on where that is in big pharma.
Right. He's just it's an old anti-vaccine talking point. They're like, well, I'm just real skeptical of big pharma and I don't want to take their vaccines. Like, I don't know. As soon as you became aware of the anti-vaccine movement, HK, I'm sure that you had heard one of them say that exact shit. And you were like, I'm not sure that's what you're really talking about.
Yep. Yeah. Like I don't think that the $10 COVID shot is where big pharma is fucking you over. But the $350 insulin, there you go.
Well, both of these people that's affordable to both of these people.
Yep.
Radicals. It just didn't seem possible. And so
but he gave you your chance right there, RFK Jr., to just go in on big pharma and forget he said anything else during that fucking 2.5 minute Quest statement.
You think? I don't think the universities are salvageable, by the way. So why do you think the Democrats are salvageable?
Well, I don't think we have a choice. We have a two-party system, and I'm a lifelong Democrat. I feel like my party's being taken away from me in some ways.
By who? Like people half your age?
The kind of ideologies, the extreme ideologies, and really, the departure of common sense that I think troubles you and a lot of, the things that you think about. And, but I mean, why do I think it's salvageable? Because I'm talking to people on the street. There's so many people who have responded to my candidacy positively because they see it as return to, being a Kennedy Democrats. The Democratic Party that
Man, there aren't that many of them left, dude.
that they thought reflected their values, their ideologies, and their best interests, and the best interests of this country, and that was likely to, build on an America that they can be proud of, that their children can be proud of, that has moral authority around the world, and all of the things.
There are
we'd like
policies from the 60s that I'd like to go back to. For example, taxation of the wealthy. We used to tax the wealthy at like 90%.
Oh, you know who the first one?
would like to go back to that.
You know who the first one to start tearing at that was?
Who?
JFK.
Well, I think most people would like to see. I think the Democratic Party has been hijacked, as you say, by kind of some extreme ideologies and in some cases kind of irrational, thought patterns. And I think that kind of the idea of returning it to common sense is appealing to a lot of people.
But common sense is appealing to everybody because they think you're just telling them that what they think is common sense is how we should do things. Common sense is like it's like two words. It's like a weasel words. It doesn't mean shit.
Flat earthers say that the earth being flat is common sense.
Right, and it's fine. Like, and if you're just talking to somebody at a bar and you're like, oh, I think it's common sense that blah 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 blah, whatever. There's no stakes there. There's nothing there. You're just having a conversation at a bar.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's the president's just not telling you anything by saying, well, we're going to do common sense.
I'm just thinking those things, and they seem to be reflected both in my polling and in the kind of reaction I get from people on the street and on Twitter, and
but Elon Musk is boosting you on Twitter.
Things that makes me feel that way, but I could be wrong.
Well, I mean, part of the reason that I was willing to work with the Democrats to begin with, and I did that for about 5 years, was because I think like you do, according to what you just said, that, well, you kind of have to work with the institutions that exist because those are the institutions that exist. And
did Jordan Peterson, was he trying to work with Democrats for 5 years? I thought he was just,
I don't recall that.
I thought he was just like crying Kermit the Frog, complaining about trans people and Black Lives Matter. And for a while, he wasn't talking about anything because of the way he chose to use the system known as Big Pharma. Also, we have a shirt in our swag shop with a illustration of him, and under it just says Big Pharma, like Big Daddy, but he's Big Pharma. that was funnier when it was funnier 2 years ago.
Seems to be some utility in trying to pull the Democrats, let's say, back towards the center as much as that's possible. But I found that I think we had some success.
But if you pull both parties to the center, and then there's no difference between the parties, and then you end like, if you get both parties to what you think is the center, then what's the point of even having two of them?
I think by pull the Democrats back to the center, he means erase all of the progress that's been made in the last 50 years.
Possibly. But it may, I think when these people talk about the center or centrism, I think it's just a virtue signal. Because if you ask them like what that meant, they would just tell you what they believe.
Yep. Yeah, it is. None of them view themselves as far right. Even though, like, to everyone else that's not on the far right, they are far right.
In particular, and I see this on the conservative side too, by the way, with the unwillingness to see, this is probably more true in Canada even, what is really at the core of this progressive ideology that stresses equity, for example, because equity...
Yeah, RFK Jr.'s not going down that fucking rabbit hole with you, dude. He's not doing it. His fucking advisors told him you were going to talk about that.
Unbelievably dangerous doctrine. And as far as I can tell, it's indistinguishable from the sort of Marxist ideas that swept across Eastern Europe and the Soviet Union and China, for that matter. in the 20th century and that still prevail, certainly in China. And it isn't obvious to me at all that the Democrats have taken this with any degree of seriousness. And,
isn't China now just basically state capitalism? Like
pathologies on the cultural front. Now, you've documented a fair bit, and this brings us into another area that's...
So look, he just made a declarative statement about like equity, and he's like, I'm going to move on to something else here. Even Jordy Pete knows that this guy's not going to go there with him. Not interested in going on that car ride with you, sir.
To that, I guess you spent a lot of time. Your last book, Letter to Liberals, I think I've got that title right, concentrated on the strange collusion that has occurred between the Democrats and Big Pharma. And this is also something I find completely inexplicable. Like 20 years ago, if you would have said that in 2020, the leftist types and the liberals, including the Democrats, would be colluding with Big Pharma, people would have thought you were completely out of your mind.
But wait a minute, and that's you're in 2020. The president of the United States was Donald Trump, and he was out there bragging about Operation Warp Speed, which was an on the record, I guess, collusion with pharmaceutical companies to get a vaccine out.
That was before they knew that they would be hounding against that.
Right.
For an endless amount of time, the number one corporate
it used to be that both parties would kind of openly collude with Big Pharma, collude, quote unquote. But yeah, I don't really understand how like Republicans now they're very against certain pharma things, like the vaccine. But again, if you ask them, like, should we put a cap on the price of insulin? I bet you most of them would say no.
People who were liberal or on the left were Big Pharma and Big Energy. And so
wait, what?
How do you explain what happened in relationship to the liberal attitude towards Big Pharma during the COVID epidemic? Because I haven't been able to sort that out at all. What do you think's behind that?
But like HK, you said it a little while ago. Big Pharma does a lot more than make the vaccine that we all just took.
Yep.
You don't have to like think like I like also don't think that like a pharmaceutical company selling penicillin to somebody who has a really bad infection. I'm like, well, that's good, and penicillin's fairly cheap. So, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's drugs that are just that keeping people alive today that the pharmaceutical companies made. It's regulatory capture, and it's the way in which they mark up the prices on drugs when there's no generics available.
Yeah. It's like if someone were to give you if someone were to give you a life-saving food when you're out in the wilderness or something, but also like set your foot in a bear trap. You'd go like, well, I like some of the things that person did, but I'm definitely not a fan of the bear trap.
That happened kind of like a slow motion train wreck. And you're right that traditionally pharmaceutical industries.
Although you'd probably be screaming it because your foot is in a bear trap.
Traditionally, pharmaceutical industries are, it is a criminal enterprise. And, I'm not saying that lightly. The four principal companies, Merck, Sanofi, Pfizer, and Glaxo, that produce, for example, all the vaccines in America, have paid $35 billion collectively over the last decade in criminal penalties and, damages for lying to doctors.
Now do Wall Street.
For defrauding regulators, for falsifying science, and for killing hundreds of thousands of people. I mean, the whole opioid crisis was engineered by the Sacklers and by the other big pharmaceutical companies, along with corrupt FDA officials. And that is a crisis that now kills this year killed 106,000 American kids, twice the number of kids that died during the 20-year Vietnam War.
Kids?
Another good example.
Kids?
Symptom of the corrupt collusion.
I bet we killed a lot more than 106,000 kids in Vietnam, and we, I think most people that went there on our side were over 18.
pharma and the regulatory agencies, and the capture of those agencies by that industry, which has become, the agencies themselves have become sock puppets for that industry. And they killed between 120,000 and 500,000 people with a drug they marketed as a headache medicine and a arthritis medicine when they knew that it caused heart attacks. And they didn't tell the public that. They concealed that from the public. So, a lot of people would have said,
what year was this? This was probably back when he was a lawyer.
I'll take an aspirin, but they weren't allowed to make that choice because the pharma and the collusion.
All right, now how many people does aspirin kill?
And did they ever tell you that you couldn't take aspirin? What the fuck is he talking about?
Regulators took that information, deprived the public of informed consent. Now, the question is,
how many people does Tylenol kill? Like, all drugs have risks. And like the whole point of our system is to try and mitigate those risks and make them clear to patients, right? So you can say like, yeah, I could take this pill and it'll make my headache go away, but am I willing to take the risk of the side effects? So sure, if like companies lie about that, yes, that's very bad. But that's not a bad system in general.
And I don't remember the thing he's talking about, so I wonder what drug it is. And if it was like 20 years ago, then like you're like, well, it's been 20 years since the last time this thing you're talking about happened. You see what I'm saying? Like, time passing after something is important. Like at the workplaces, it's like, it's been this many days since we've had an accident. Well, they're acknowledging they've had an accident, but they're putting up the thing to say, hey, it's been 500 days since we had an accident where anybody had to go to the hospital here. Does that mean, are you going after them for the accident 500 days ago? Or are you like, oh, it's a pretty safe place to work, actually, assuming they're not lying about their sign?
Pharmaceutical lobbyists on Capitol Hill than there are congressmen, senators, and Supreme Court justices combined more than any other industry. They give double in terms of lobbying what the next biggest industry gives, and it's easy for them to own Congress still. There was an ideological resistance among Democrats until a decade ago, a decade. What happened was that Democrats are always starved for money, for campaign money, because
everybody running for office is for campaign money.
Dirty industries and from sort of people, disreputable people. From whether
those are called lobbyists,
the oil industry, the tobacco industry, the NRA, or things that a lot of Democrats consider disreputable. And they have unlimited money. The Democrats traditionally could only get big money, reliable big money, from two sources. One was the labor unions, and the other was the trial lawyers. And they don't have anywhere near the kind of money that these industries have to give away. And so something changed during Obamacare, and that was that the Obama administration and my uncle Ted Kennedy was chairing the Senate Health Committee at this time. So I watched this whole thing very carefully and was disturbed at that time. Because
my uncle chaired a committee, therefore I know something. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here.
Power of pharma. Obama could not get Obamacare passed without the cooperation of the pharmaceutical industry. So he basically had to make a golden handshake with the devil. And the agreement they made was that, number one, Obamacare is going to benefit you because it's going to pay for all of your products, the pharmaceutical drugs, to Americans. Here was the key: we will not bargain over prices with you, which Medicare used to do. The Canadian government bargains.
When did no? They just no. That's a big thing that's going on in fucking Congress right now about being like fucking one of the pharmaceutical companies is suing because something just passed about being able to negotiate, like Medicare or Medicaid is able to negotiate the prices of drugs. He's wrong.
provides health care to Canadians.
I have a solution that would actually fix all of
Americans
this.
Go to Canada.
Let's just socialize healthcare and pharmaceuticals.
Buy drugs because they're much cheaper there. But here they could pay the top. They could charge the top rate, and the Obamacare would have to pay it. And that is how Obama got the pharmaceutical industry's support. And after that, it became permissible for Democrats to accept pharmaceutical money.
I think this is probably false too.
To the Democratic Party, but on issues like vaccines,
Yeah, I would be really surprised if the Democrats weren't accepting pharmaceutical money before Obamacare.
Yeah, and he's leaving out, like Chat just mentioned it, he's leaving out kind of a big industry. Ever since like maybe around 2000, a lot of tech companies be throwing a lot of money at Democrats.
But up till 2016, and then you had Trump run for presidency, and during his campaign, he on several occasions he mentioned that he believed that vaccines were causing autism, and this was anecdotal to him. He had 3 friends who were
it's anecdotal to everyone
whose children had been completely.
There are no reputable
healthy,
studies that provide evidence for that claim.
But Trump says he knows 3 people.
Had regressed into, lost their language.
Oh, that's anecdata then.
Into stereotypical behavior of autism associated with autism after receiving MMR vaccines. And so he and his belief was that it was that the link was real. And he said it out loud on several occasions, I think 3 separate occasions. And at that time, anything that Trump said was immediately the reaction of the Democratic Party is whatever he says, we got to do the opposite. So even though we've hated NAFTA for our entire, existence of our party, if Trump now says he hates NAFTA, we've got to start liking NAFTA. And that was kind of what happened was.
I don't think the Democrats hated NAFTA before Trump.
By the Democratic Party doyens into the same anti-science dumpster as his climate.
But like he just changed the subject too. He said, Trump said the vaccines cause autism, and it's just like NAFTA, how all the Democrats didn't believe it because Trump said it, but those aren't the same. It's not the same thing. He's trying to pull a fast one on us.
Yeah. Also, there's 0 evidence that any vaccines cause autism. 0. Zip. Nada. None. So this guy is just wrong. Like, he's wrong about why Democrats don't buy that. And he's wrong to think that before Democrats did think that. Like you've said before, I think being an anti-vaxxer before 2016 didn't have any sort of affiliation with or
it ran the spectrum.
Yeah.
Although not a lot of people, more like less moderate people, but it was it tended to be on the fringes of like sort of stereotypical sort of hippie people, and then sort of stereotypical don't tread on me libertarian people,
Yeah.
And it became a tribal issue. And so that, it was a culture war issue. If you thought vaccines cause autism, it meant you were a Republican. And if you thought they definitely did not, and that's been proven beyond any doubt.
No, you can't prove that they don't. You just say that there's no evidence that they do.
You cannot prove a negative.
Or a Democrat, and there was no in between. There was no dialogue.
No, we already had that discussion. That's why.
Dissent or debate. It was a tribal issue, and it was
like the scientific community had that debate, and it ended in, what was it, 2005 or something? The Lancet rescinded that study from
Wakefield.
From Wakefield,
who then subsequently ended up losing his medical license.
Yeah. So it was settled.
Right.
It was everyone involved in the issue would have said it is settled. It is a 100% settled issue. There is 0 evidence that vaccines cause autism. There was one shitty study that made the claim. Turns out the guy lied a lot in his study. And He lied for financial reasons.
Right, 'cause
Lost
he
his
had
license. Study was discredited. The end.
Right. He had his own vaccine schedule that he was pushing. A lot of people forget that. He wanted to separate it out into 3 shots, and all 3 of which I think a company he was involved in was going to be providing.
Yep. Yeah, he owned a financial stake in a competitor to the thing he was trying to discredit with his junk science.
That's the way that I saw that history happen because I watched.
That's not the kind of corruption we have a problem with around here.
President Trump recently issued a warning from his Mar-a-Lago home. Quote, our currency is crashed in his statement.
Nope.
9-8.
You saw 2 things happen. You saw a collusion emerge because of the agreement that Obama made with big pharma companies, and then there was this twist that was thrown into it as a consequence of the Trump candidacy. So also, I'm wondering...
These companies were giving money to both parties for sure. They were probably giving money to whoever they thought was going to win, mostly, because they wanted to have that person's ear. Things haven't changed that dramatically since Obama.
Yeah, they will give, just like any big corporation will give money to all sorts of politicians, whoever promises to help them.
Or maybe whoever makes the right noises about not getting in their way too much, depending on who you are, what the issue is. Maybe you work with what you got. Yeah, whoever's most favorable to them, if they've even taken an interest in that particular race or whatever, then they're just going to give that person money. I don't like this is. It's so weird how history never happened, or if it did, it started under Obama. It's like, no, get the fuck out of here. I bet fucking Bill Clinton took money from the pharmaceutical industry.
Wasn't that long ago, well, I guess it's 20 years now, so it's some reasonable amount of time, that the laws in the United States were changed so that big pharma could advertise their products directly to the consumer. And that was actually a revolution in
I'm actually for that. Do you remember that Sky Rizzy video that Madison Star Moon freaked out about because the airplane was writing Sky Rizzy in the sky with smoke? And if the pharmaceutical companies would have never been able to advertise, we never would have got that Madison Star Moon Sky Rizzy video. And when they first started advertising, it was hilarious because you'd watch somebody surfing on grass and you'd be like, what is this about? And then you'd look it up and you're like, oh, it's an allergy medicine. How cute. Now you can surf in the grass. They were trying to be kind of vague.
Sticking their face into a big bucket of pollen and taking a deep breath.
Right. They're trying to be kind of vague, almost like an expensive perfume commercial where you're not really sure what the commercial's for, but the people in this commercial are gorgeous.
And now, as you pointed out in your last book, big pharma controls about 75% of the advertising on legacy media, and even more on the news shows. And so,
I think it's about 75% on the news shows.
I think it's about 70. Oh, look at that! Look at that! He's backing off of it because it's bullshit. That would mean 3 out of 4 commercials during the news show, or 3 out of 75 out of $100 of the revenue they get from advertising comes from one industry. I don't think so. And if that is the case, it's because the audience for cable is getting older. And so they need more medication.
There aren't a whole lot of YouTubers sponsored by AstraZeneca.
I would take that sponsorship in a minute. It would. Oh my God! Do you know how many people? If there was an AstraZeneca, oh my God, people would lose their damn minds. People would get so mad. Can you imagine all of a sudden we'd start getting comments on YouTube, right? There's thousands of angry comments on YouTube.
And what a great way to segue to our sponsor, Claritin D.
I'd be advertising vaccines and antipsychotics, just all the stuff Scientologists and conspiracy theorists hate. I'd be like, no, sorry, we're not. No, I don't want the gout medication. Do you have one for Prozac we could run? Really want to piss off the Scientologists this week if that's all right with you.
Sure.
I think they should do a grassroots advertising campaign, or what's it called? AstroTurf advertising campaign, where they
you know what the great thing about AstroTurf it means is that you don't actually need their allergy medication.
Do a TikTok challenge of taking 5 Claritins and then like I was saying, stick your face in a big bucket of pollen and breathe deeply.
Allegedly.
5% on the news shows. I'm not sure. I think there are.
Not sure. Me neither.
If you look at the entire sort of landscape, automobiles may be bigger, but certainly.
Wait, automobiles may be bigger. Then how could it be 75%?
Look, Dave, it's a very large 25%.
It's for a three row SUV, so that 25% actually is 75%. Each row is the 25% for each row, Dave. 25% for each row.
News shows. The evening news is kind of the perfect landscape to advertise pharmaceuticals, because everybody who watches the evening news, essentially the entire demographic, is over 60. Young, my kids would not dream of turning on the evening news. They get their news from their screens.
Well, the evening news, sir, is also on a screen.
Yeah, as opposed to what? His screen? He's like, look at my screen. Don't look at your screens.
My age, and as you know, when you get to our age, you spend a lot of time at doctors, and you're on, and those people are on a lot of drugs, and so they're watching it. And Roger Ailes told me, I think it was in 2014, and he, of course, was the.
What are you doing taking meetings with Roger Ailes?
Fox News. And I was trying to get, I had made or participated in the making of a documentary about the impacts of mercury in vaccines on neurodevelopmental disorders in children. This sudden epidemic that had begun in 1989 of neurodevelopmental disorders.
No, this is incorrect. Even Fox News was, in fact, in 2014, Fox News was like, they were certainly not going to run it then, right? Because they hadn't gone all the way on board with Trump, and they sort of were able to still sort of suggest to you that conspiracy theorists were mostly liberals, right? In 2014, they were able to suggest that to their audience, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, they weren't going to run that. Roger Ailes was probably like, this is a dumb documentary. He's like, did you know that I'm here to make money?
So I think what he's talking about, I don't know how he phrased it, like an explosion of developmental disorders or something. What he's talking about is just us getting better at recognizing and diagnosing disorders. Like, those disorders existed in like the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. They just weren't diagnosed. So you were just the weird kid who ended up in a mental institution later in life.
And there's some of the stigma was removed from developmental disorders and mental illness, where it wasn't, you didn't try to hide it.
Yeah,
so,
that too.
So if they're just going on polling numbers or diagnosis or whatever, any metric for that, it's going to be a better diagnosis and of course just destigmatization of a lot of things.
And he had a relative who had been affected that he believed was vaccine injured.
He actually agrees with me, but he won't say so publicly.
On his shows, I had this weird relationship with Roger Ailes because I had spent 3 months in a tent with him when I was 19 years old in Africa.
What?
And we had this friendship. He was a very clever, witty guy, and he had not started.
Tell more of that story.
He just left running the Nixon campaign communications. And he had stepped down from the Merv Griffin show, but I had this lasting friendship with him, and he was a very loyal friend. And he would always make the hosts of Fox TV to put me on to talk about environmental issues. So I was the only environmentalist for a decade that was going on Fox News, and I looked at him kind of as a Darth Vader, of what he had done to American television and communications, but I still had this strange friendship with him. So
that's one of the things we talk about with these IDW people a lot too. And Sam Harris suffered from that greatly and was unable to. It took him a very long time to figure out that all his public pals were cranks, because they're like, well, I have a personal relationship with this person, so that's important here. And when we enter the public marketplace of ideas, I keep that in mind. And it's like, no, they all do this. they were like, well, he was nice to me. And it's like, well, yeah, your family's rich, you dumb fuck. No class solidarity like among the rich, baby.
To him to try to get on to talk about this documentary. He looked at it. His assistant, Mike Clemente, who was running the station at that time, the network looked at it, and both of them loved it. But he said, we can't let you on. And he told me at that time,
he's like, love it, baby, but I'm just not gonna pick it up. That's what, like, when an agent says to an actor that they're trying to be nice to, right? They're like, oh, I love you for this part, but I don't think I can sell it. I don't think I'll be, and that the agent may actually like the person for the part, or they may just be like, I'm not going to tell this person that they're wrong for this part they really want. They're not going to get it. I'd like to continue to be their agent because I'm in the business of being an agent. Yeah, maybe I don't know, maybe they did like it, but they're like, well, I liked your documentary, even though it's full of fucking lies. Oh, Roger Ailes is probably for it in principle, actually, if it's full of fucking lies. It's just like, these lies don't make me money, RFK.
he said, if any of my hosts independently let you on to talk about this, I would fire them. I would have to fire them. And he said, if I didn't fire them, I would get a call from Rupert within 10 minutes, meaning Rupert Murdoch. And he said to me at that time, he said 75% of my evening news division advertising revenues are coming from pharmaceutical companies. And he told me that of the 22 ads on the typical evening news show, that typically 17 or 18 of those were pharmaceutical ads. And so that, that tells it all. And I've seen again and again and again, people like Jake Tapper, who did this, he worked with me for 3 weeks doing this incredible documentary on an article that I published in 2005 about a secret meeting that DEC sponsored with 75 vaccine makers about how to hide from the American public the links between autism and vaccines.
Jake Tapper didn't do that.
Transcript for these.
He's like, but then we couldn't release it.
All right, so here's how we're going to hide the links between autism and vaccine. We're going to take all these links and we're going to do nothing because they don't exist.
I published them in Rolling Stone. And Jake Tapper, prior as the Rolling Stone publication date approached, he spent 3 weeks with me doing an exclusive for ABC, which he was then working for, on my article, a companion piece. And the night before the piece was supposed to run, he called me up and he said, the piece just got killed by corporate. And he said, in all my career, I have never had a piece killed by corporate, and I'm so mad.
But you know what? Jake Tapper don't work for ABC anymore, and he would be able to tell you about this, and I ain't heard this story ever. He's like, all my friends are influential people in media. They all are. This is like the I have a girlfriend in Canada and you can't meet her story. Except he's naming their names, which is weird. I wonder if this is defamation of character. I wonder if we can get sued for defamation for this.
Possibly.
And then after that, I called him the next day, and he went dark. And I've never spoken to him again. But he's become kind of this shill for pharma since then. So,
here's what I think happened. I think he sat down for an interview with Jake Tapper and tried to tell him all this shit, and Jake Tapper didn't believe it, and now they're not friends. I think that's like a more believable version of this story.
I think you're right.
I don't know that that's what happened. I just think I believe that way more than Jake Tapper was like gung-ho to go full anti-vax while he was working at ABC. Like, get the fuck out of here. That dude's a careerist. He was not. That dude's like, we're not like a Jake Tapper stan stream around here, but for my God. Stop. Like, if you're going to lie, at least make it believable. Or at least pretend you can't say their name like Alex Jones constantly does.
So many, announcers on TV.
Think that's what happened to Tucker Carlson?
Well, I think it might be. I mean, the timing is good, but there was a lot of reasons they may have wanted to get rid of Tucker.
The racism. Even for Fox, I think the racism was just too much.
I don't think so. I don't think that's the reason at all. I think he represented a liability right after their Dominion lawsuit.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Yeah, because he was saying shit about a lot of powerful people, wasn't he?
Yep.
because I think Fox probably got rid of Fox News by getting rid of Tucker. You know, it's a move that seems to be in.
They seem to have lost a big audience, and it is weird. I mean, Tucker was getting 4.5 million viewers a night, and compare that to CNN. CNN gets about the primetime CNN has 345,000 viewers. So Tucker was getting more than 10 times with CNN. He dwarfed anybody else on Fox. I mean, he was clearly the breadwinner. He was the anchor, and they fired him. They were making some kind of a point, and you know, maybe he just pissed off Rupert by being, you know, Fox News is important to us in this country, but to Rupert Murdoch's empire, it's just a drop in the bucket. So, you know,
they were getting about 1 million total views prime time.
Oh no, I think he's talking about concurrent.
Oh, okay. Concurrent views. Okay.
In pharma, it may have been Rupert Murdoch's ego. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, well, I wonder if a policy transformation that made it illegal for big pharma to market direct to consumer would go some distance to rectifying this pharma problem.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's right. And
no, they'd take the marketing budget and just be like, well, we're just going to use this on lobbying now. You dumb motherfucker. What, are they just going to not spend the money? You stupid motherfucker.
Into that, and you know, the change happened, Jordan, in 1997, and that's when FCC changed its rules and FDA approved, which was the rule before that was that there could be no direct-to-consumer advertising of pharmaceutical products on TV or anywhere. And the only other nation in the world that allows that is New Zealand. And, you know, because we have that rule, it's one of the reasons that we use 3 times the number of pharmaceutical drugs as any other European country.
Like per capita or total? Also, we're not a European country.
American today is on 4 pharmaceutical drugs, and it has not helped public health. It is, you know,
I would believe him about per capita use. Like, we use more pharmaceuticals. Yeah, it's because the way our healthcare system works, you have to essentially become very ill before you will seek treatment, rather than just seeking treatment as soon as you start to feel ill. So yeah, we in general, Americans are much more sick and ill than Europeans.
Now, the 3rd largest killer of Americans after cancer and heart attacks, and we pay more for public health than any other country in the world. And I think,
right, so that means that's the 3rd leading cause of death is medical error. Is it 3rd? Or 4th?
I think it actually pharmaceutical drugs. I think it's
no.
I think he's talking about the opioid crisis.
No, I don't. Jordan Peterson was trying to give him an out there because I don't think pharmaceutical drugs are the 3rd largest killer of Americans.
Drugs, yeah, and the source for that is the Cochrane collaboration. It's it's a report by Peter Gosha, I think, of the who is the founder of the Cochrane collaboration, which is kind of the ultimate arbiter of pharmaceutical companies.
It is not even in the top 10 that I can see.
What's the 3rd largest?
COVID-19.
Oh, what's 4th?
Accidents.
Just accidents more broadly. I think he thinks
unintentional injuries, 225,000 a year.
Yeah, he's wrong. Yeah, he's just so wrong. Unless he thinks that that like number is just accidents that people had with pharmaceutical drugs, but then that would mean that nobody had any other kind of accidents.
Yeah, I don't think it means like medical accidents.
Yeah, it's injuries, just injuries that lead to your death.
Yeah, like car accidents.
Yeah. Falling off a ladder, falling off a building.
And if they are including medical accidents in there,
then medical
in the general umbrella of accidents, then that's going to be like, if you separate that out, it's going to go like way down in the list.
that produced the recent report, the Cochrane Review, showing that masks are completely ineffective in relationship to COVID transmission.
Yeah.
No, what study? No.
Now, although I can't see how, because as you pointed out, the Cochrane Reviews people have accepted them as gold standard for conservative reviews, careful scientific reviews for years.
Yeah, the thing is that Bill Gates has played a huge role in.
Okay, so it does include drug overdoses, but it also includes car accidents and falls.
But he wasn't saying drug overdoses even. He was saying like the pharmaceutical drugs. So like when I hear someone say that, I assume they mean that like you took what you were prescribed and it killed you, right? That's like what I would assume, or at least the majority of it would be that.
Yeah. So of just drug overdoses, it's at 107,000. So if I go back to the other page here, where would 107,000?
But I don't think he's talking about drug overdoses.
There? It would fall a little below Alzheimer's disease and a little above diabetes in, I think, position number 8th position. Again,
I don't think that's what he's talking about, because Jordy Pete tried to give him an out and try to say it was like medical accidents or whatever. Yeah. But I think he means like the thing that Scientology says, basically, that when you're being prescribed these drugs, they are one of the most likely things to kill you, and it's just not true.
Yeah, so even if you give him like the most benefit of the doubt in his argument, he's still incredibly wrong.
And they've got, they're the big founders of Cochrane, Thomas Jefferson, who is, the leading clinical trial expert in Europe, and Peter Gosha, who is the other co-founder, have both been run out of Cochrane. And the Gates Foundation has been pumping tens of millions of dollars in. So I don't know what's going to become of Cochrane now.
Yeah, well, the whole
but so people know. Yeah, so that people know.
He's like, here, this is the leading blah blah blah. But now Bill Gates is putting money in there, so they probably don't know what they're talking about anymore, because they're, you probably find something more recently where they said that like something different than what he's claiming. This is like, these people are credible until I decide they're not.
These were a group of very independent scientists who started looking at what was happening to the medical journals. The medical journals get most of their money from pharmaceutical companies for both advertising and preprints. And preprints are the pharmaceutical companies have these phony studies that they use their financial clout to get the Lancet, New England Journal of Medicine, or JAMA, the Journal of American Medical Association, to publish, and then they get a preprint. So they get the journal then to print out just that article, but with the cover of the journal in it, which gives it this imprint.
No. It says it's a preprint. Journals at their discretion will put out articles before they'll put them out as preprints, which means that it hasn't gone through the entire process. Maybe they want to be first on it. Maybe it's somebody who has a long track record of being right, so they'll put out the preprint, and that they tell you that it's a preprint. It says it.
Total legitimacy. They print out 200,000 or 300,000 of them, and they pay a lot of money, millions of dollars, for that printing run from the
200,000 or 300,000. If it's millions, that's only like $10 an article, dude. If it's like 2 million, it's only $10 an article. What do you mean millions?
I don't think it costs that much to print one article.
To publish, it depends. I don't know either, but what I'm saying is he's like, this is all this money, and he said millions, but the thing is, he said 200,000, right? And he said they get millions for it. Let's say that by millions he means 2. Well, then they're only getting $10 an article. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like, also, are there hundreds of is the pharmaceutical industry putting out hundreds of thousands of papers a year? I don't think so. I don't think the journals he's talking about have the capacity to absorb that much material. Because that would be like 600 or 700 a day just from the fucking pharmaceutical companies.
And I don't think the people who read those journals would be interested in getting like all of those preprints.
I think he's just lying.
Yeah.
I think 200,000 or 300,000 might be the total number of scientific papers that are submitted by everyone in every journal every year, but maybe not. I don't know. I just know that he's just lying. That's bullshit. You don't even have to you just have to think about the ability of an organization to process fucking papers that come in. How many people are working at each of these places? 20,000, 30,000? Like, they got a fucking sweatshop where people are looking at all the big pharma papers, making shoes in their spare time. Get the fuck out of here.
And they're pharmaceutical reps. You know, the former Playboy models who go around to each doctor's office.
This is all that's, you know what? That's what if you were in Playboy a few times, guess what you do now, HK? Pharma rep. Like what is he talking about? Also, there's just a tiny bit of maybe slut shaming there too.
Yeah, he's not wrong that happens, but I don't think it happens as much as he thinks it does.
I think they may want the farmer rep to be classically attractive, but Playboy models?
The Playboy to farmer rep pipeline.
Yeah.
Something he's very concerned about.
I bet there have probably been instances where the lobbyists took lawmakers to parties where there were women who had been in Playboy magazine. Absolutely. That almost certainly happened.
And give them one of these preprints and say, look, the drug I'm doing, Lancet says it's a great thing. That's where these journals make all their money. Well, so in, I think it was the 80s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, these groups of scientists got together who were independent scientists and said, what we're seeing now coming out of the journals is not real science, it's pharmaceutical propaganda. Even the journal editors like Marcia Engel from the New England Journal of Medicine, Richard Horton from the Lancet, said you cannot believe anything in the journals anymore. We are vessels for pharmaceutical propaganda.
But the numbers you gave are insane.
We're going to get volunteer scientists from all over the world.
Also, like, if the drugs didn't work, we would notice
whether it actually was good science or whether they're lying to us, and critically read it, do basically a second round of peer review that's real.
Wait, but what do you mean by a second round of peer review that's real? So what happens to somebody puts out a study, it gets good peer review. Somebody else puts out a similar study that also is subject to peer review because they're trying to replicate the results, right? They're trying to replicate the data. So we already do have a second round of peer review. It's on the second study testing the same hypothesis that the first person got an answer on, RFK Jr. When he says real peer review, I think he means like fucking Robert Malone and Brett Weinstein and fucking fucking himself, maybe Jordan Peterson. Pierre Corey.
And they put together this extraordinary organization of over 30,000 volunteer scientists, top scientists, independent scientists from around the world, who systematically review journal articles to see whether the science is real or fake and inform the public. And it was an absolutely critical organization. And, Gates has gone in there trying to undermine it.
Oh no, the organization was good back in the day. He's like, oh, this organization used to be good and now they're funded by Bill Gates.
It's very, very troubling.
Do you ever read activity?
Oh, I'm so disappointed in ExpressVPN here. If you're looking for a VPN, go with Mozilla VPN.
We talked here a little bit now about, let's say, the corruption of the legacy media on the news front by Big Pharma, and you just made
they're not a sponsor.
The same thing happening in the scientific domain, which is really awful to see. Journals like New England Journal of Medicine and Lancet and so forth, and science for that matter, and you're seeing it with nature as well, degenerate into organs that are no longer producing trustworthy science.
He's going to fucking talk about how they went woke, and RFK Jr. is just going to sidestep that shit again.
Real catastrophe. You saw recently, like yesterday, that DeSantis basically bypassed the legacy media, and Pierre Poilievre did that in Canada when he ran for the leader of the Conservative Party, by the way. He just skipped over the legacy media entirely, and DeSantis announced his presidency on Twitter.
How'd that go?
Here you are also talking to me on YouTube, right? And so that's not exactly standard political practice. And
yes,
so
it is.
What do you think of Why did you decide to talk to me today on my YouTube channel? And what do you think of DeSantis' use of Twitter? Has your campaign also been...
The Jordan Peterson show was much better produced than the DeSantis use of Twitter, that's for sure.
Utilizing Twitter, because obviously Musk has made that open to any candidate. And how are you guys conceptualizing your move forward on the presidency campaign front in relationship to non-traditional media?
Well, Jordan, I've been censored in the corporate media for 18 years. So,
but wait, you were just talking about a few minutes ago about how they were all your buddies and your pals and your pals and your buddies and your pals, and they all agree with you, buddy pal.
I've been actively censored, not only just for vaccine articles, but for all of my articles. And I was very, very active on those media fronts for, decades, but I've been slowly censored now to complete wall-to-wall censorship. And
but all my friends work at CNN and Fox.
The last 3 years,
I will never understand how
around that censorship.
These people that have so much voice and reach, and they're talking to millions of people, say, "Oh, I'm being censored. I'm being censored by whoever." It's like, if I'm hearing you, you're not being censored.
It depends. It depends on Intellectual Dollar Tree. Yeah, it's going to be fairly likely that whatever we watched had a significant audience, right?
Yep.
Because we don't.
I mean, the Daily Wire has an enormous audience.
Right.
It's consistently the most popular thing on Facebook. It doesn't deserve that audience, but it does have it.
Using non-traditional media, I was on Instagram. I had almost 1 million followers on Instagram at one point, but then in the pandemic, they deplatformed me. So
hooray! Too little, too late. But hooray!
Banned on Instagram, is that the case?
Instagram and banned on TikTok. I'm interested to see what happens to you.
I mean,
YouTube.
In this regard, I'm assuming he was banned for his anti-vaccine takes. Yeah, so he's actively hurting people's health. So,
well, so is Instagram.
I don't think that that's a bad thing at all for them to ban him. Like, absolutely, they should have done it sooner, and they should have done it to more people.
Right. What the companies did, I don't want to get too. I don't want to go off into Narnia on this, but what they would do is they'd hold out a sacrificial lamb for people, and they eventually, for Meta, Facebook and Instagram, the sacrificial lamb that they'd hold up to the press, one of those times it was RFK Jr. They're like, look, we're doing something about it. We kicked off RFK Jr. But like, they don't understand that under RFK Jr. are all these other networks of connected people that are just gonna, like, they're already all connected, so the damage is done.
Yep.
They've left me alone. YouTube has left me alone. It's quite surprising, because I've said things many times that in principle should have got me in trouble on YouTube, but they haven't even put any strikes against my channel. They demonetized my daughter for a whole year for reasons we never did discover, but they're
telling everybody to eat beef, most likely, sir.
Been completely hands off with me. They've added those warnings or clarifications now and then, especially when I talk to people like Bjorn Lomborg, and we'll get to that later, but I don't know what it is. YouTube has been hands off.
In answer to your question, when my uncle ran in 1960, television was a new phenomena, and he recognized the power of television, that would play a key role in that presidential campaign for the first time in history, and he was able to exploit that and to win that election. In the 2016 election, Twitter played a key role in getting Donald Trump elected.
You're wrong. It was Facebook.
That's not true.
Facebook.
If he didn't have that,
Facebook.
I don't even know if it was Facebook. It was just all social media had some effect, but it was mostly just that, like, there was a racist backlash in the US.
And it was also lucky coincidences of which state who won, because of the way the Electoral College works too. Trump's opponent did get many more votes than he did. So
3 million more votes than him. Yep.
That Twitter account, he probably would not have been elected. Who knows? But I would say there's a good chance he wouldn't. Today, Twitter is still important, and I have now 1.2 million followers on Twitter. I really didn't start.
Did he just say Twitter is still important?
Yes.
Freed it up.
Strong disagree. Twitter was never important, and it is continuing to not be important. In fact, it's becoming even less important.
I was mainly posting, kitty cats and rainbows,
if that's possible,
and unicorns. Because kitty cats and rainbows and unicorns.
Well, now they're real pissed off about the rainbows, buddy.
If I said anything that was if I talked about what
they'd be pissed off at the unicorns too.
I would have been deplatformed. But once Elon took over, I started. They unshackled me, and but also I think this year is going to be the political campaign that will be decided on by podcasts, and particularly because.
Podcasts
are not
long form podcast. It's the future, HK.
To debate. So not only is Biden not debating, but I think Trump may not debate. So I think people like me are going to end up
Oh, Trump's not going to want to miss out on the chance to dunk on Chris Christie and fucking Ron DeSantis. Get the fuck out of here.
Whether these podcasts. And, I was talking about Tucker having 4.5 million nightly views. Well, the podcast that Joe Rogan did with Peter McCulloch got 40 million views. So that,
right. Well, Rogan's a force of nature.
Yeah, so Tucker is 10 times what CNN is, gets, and Rogan's audience is potentially 10 times what Tucker was getting. So I think the podcasts have the capacity this election for reaching people and allowing, sort of.
That's a really disturbing thought to think that Joe Rogan might decide the next election.
Election for reaching people and allowing, sort of dissident and insurgent candidates like myself to end run the corporate media monolith and to reach large numbers of Americans without going onto the networks. So I'm hoping that works. Now, you asked about DeSantis. I think, I felt badly for DeSantis because of what happened on his, Twitter announcement where it went off, and I'm kind of rooting for Elon, so I don't.
I feel great about fucking the fact that DeSantis' announcement was a disaster. Twitter was lit up, and I am not rooting for Elon.
Yep. I'm heavily rooting against Elon. He is first of all, he's immoral for being a billionaire. And second of all, he's immoral for a number of other things.
Just his behavior.
Yeah, he claims to be a free speech absolutist, and if he was, that would be bad enough. But he's not. He promotes right-wing voices and demotes left-wing voices.
But I do. I liked how he handled COVID in Florida. There's other things that he's doing now that I don't like. But I do, politics is hard for everybody. And,
especially for you. And that's, I'm going to have to put a fork in this. He was talking about long form podcasts, and I'm looking at the time being like, oh, I don't want to, we're not going to be one of them long form podcasts. I'm sorry about that. Also, me and HK aren't in like a really odd room just shooting the shit. So,
yeah, we need more like wood paneling in our rooms.
I technically, there's a bunch of wood paneling behind me. I've just covered it up. I don't know. Yeah, did you like every time Jordan Peterson tried to bring up culture war shit, RFK Jr. dodged it, didn't address it, pretended the question wasn't even asked. When he talked about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and then he talked about equity and equality of outcome. Every time that came up, RFK was like, "Nope, I'm running as a Democrat. I'm not doing this."
Yeah, it was. You were wondering if he was going to dunk on Jordan Peterson earlier. He didn't. There was no dunking here.
Well, we're only halfway through it, but guess what? We're not watching the rest of this. You can watch the rest of this at home if you want, but I don't recommend it. I don't think he's gonna though. They're just having a very, very polite conversation, and I think Jordan, I don't think we're going to get any more, like, during the rest of this, I don't think we would hear Jordan try to do any more culture war stuff. Because he didn't really get shot down on it. He just got ignored. Like, every time he tried to bring that shit up. This guy's not going to win the Democratic primary. He's going to, like, raise his profile even more during this, though. I don't know if there's a way that the Democratic Party can kind of put their foot down maybe and be like, well, you know, yeah, he can run and he can claim to be a Democrat, but, you know, he's not part of our party. Who fucking knows? I wonder if he's even done the work to get on the ballot anywhere. Do you remember when Brett was trying to, like, run that campaign that one year, and it turned out that, like, he didn't even technically have time to get anybody on the ballot because of how late he started his pretend campaign, when all he was really doing was collecting people's personal information to exploit.
What was the name of that party?
The Forward Party? Oh no, that's not right. Fuck, I forget now. Oh, Unity, which is interesting because of his brother. You know, they're real big into Unity over there at the Weinstein compound. I imagine all the Weinsteins live on the weird fucking compound. I don't know what to say, man. This is fucked, but this guy's not going to win.
Yep.
All right, you want to read us out?
All right. So we do this show every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific, live on twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. If you want to come check us out, if you're listening to the podcast, join us live any Wednesday. If you are listening live, then after the song, we will come back and be doing Red Light. So stick around for that. And then you can support us on echoplexmedia.com, eplex.store, and patreon.com/Echoplex. Now, let's hear Boomers by Periscope.
Should you pay